Physics is considered as a very difficult subject in the minds of the NEET aspirants. They find it pretty confusing, conceptual, difficult, and often very dreadful. If you are a NEET 2025 or 2026 aspirant, you are at the right video, because today we'll be discussing the most comprehensive physics strategy for NEET 2025 or 2026. So if you want to become a doctor, if you are an 11th grader, 12th grader, or a dropper, please stay till the end of the video, because I'll be discussing a very practical strategy which any student can follow, whether you're the topper of your coaching or an average student. It will be applicable for every single student out there, because it's comprehensive. Number one, a very comprehensive plan, and I'll be sharing with you, including the complete syllabus coverage as well as revision. What should be the frequency of revision, how to do physics, and what not to do. So we'll also discuss about the mistakes which students make, the mistakes which I made during my NEET preparation. Let's get started without wasting any more time. Number one, if you are an 11th or 12th grader, I'll discuss that case. Second case, if you are a dropper, because I need to be very clear. I try to keep the clarity every single time I come on YouTube. Okay, if you are an 11th or 12th grader, I know since it's the May of month, your session has just started. It means it's the beginning of the session. Number one thing to remember, that whenever we start physics, physics demands a lot of time. So physics is very time consuming. If it's time consuming, you need to devote more time to physics as compared to biology and chemistry. Around 50% of your study time should be devoted to it. Let's say I'm an aspirant, I spend around 4 hours in coaching. Let's say I'm in an online coaching, I've enrolled myself in an online coaching. 4 hours I spend time in coaching, and let's say 6 hours I do the self-study. So 6 hours self-study, an ideal routine for an 11th and 12th grader who's a dummy student. Now school students have a separate criteria, I'll make a video for that, don't worry. And 4 hours of coaching, let's say an online coaching, let's say you're enrolled. So out of 6 hours of self-study, minimum 3 hours need to be devoted to physics anyhow. Okay, and in coaching, that depends on the schedule of yours. Every day minimum 3 hours need to be devoted to physics if your self-study time is 6 hours. If it's lesser, then you calculate as per that. If it's more, then you calculate as per that. Now, a very important thing which most of the students will ignore here, that this plan is not forever, guys. Don't fall into this trap. First 6 months, listen to me very carefully. First 6 months, 50% of the time should be devoted to physics, 30% of the time to chemistry, and 20% of the time to biology. See, why am I saying this? Listen to the scientific reason. Scientific reason is that biology and chemistry are relatively cramming based and theoretical subjects. They need to be covered in the last month mainly. Okay, so right now you go with the coaching flow, but don't put those many efforts. Right now the effort should be put for physics. Biochemistry, I'm not saying don't study biochemistry, but relatively lesser as compared to physics. So most of the time should be dedicated to physics, 50% or more. If your physics is really weak, then give 60-70%, but make sure in the first 6 months you make it your strong subject, because in the last 6 months it will be very difficult to cover physics. Am I clear? Now, next 3 months, listen very carefully. First 6 months means from May to June, July, August, September, October, November. Let's say till November, you are following this system. I'll talk about physics separately, don't worry. Next 3 months, that is December to March. December to March, 50% of physics will change to 35%. 30% of chemistry will change to 35%, and 20% you can calculate approximately around 30%. This will happen in the next 3 months, and the last 2 months, which are April and May, physics has to be studied for around 20% of the time. I would like to recapitulate. In the first 6 months, study physics for 50% of your entire self-study duration. In the next 3 months, it should be around 35%. Last 2 months, 20%, because towards the end, you won't be able to cover physics. Please try to understand that. Have the clarity. Most of the students do not have clarity. I made this mistake. I didn't give that much of time to physics initially, because of which I did suffer. Okay, so please do not make this mistake which I made. Physics needs time. This is the rule. If you won't do that, then nothing can happen. Now the second doubt which students face is that फॉर्मूले तो पता है, क्लासेस तो अटेंड करते हैं, बट न्यूमेरिकल्स नहीं सॉल्व होते, न्यूमेरिकल सॉल्व नहीं होते. सो न्यूमेरिकल प्रॉब्लम इज अ वेरी बिग प्रॉब्लम. See, for numerical problem, what I will suggest is practical strategy. Number one, lecture. Go step by step, step by step. It's a comprehensive plan, not a random plan. Comprehensive lecture, which can be of the offline coaching or the online coaching. Physics cannot be done on your own. You will be needing a teacher. Understand that. First, lecture. I am attending the lecture. Clear? First step is clear or not? Everybody will write yes in the chat box. Offline or online. It can be anything. Okay? You have the freedom. Second, notes. And notes must include all questions. I repeat, all questions. Because later on, sometimes we forget even the easiest of the problems. So while you're making the notes, please include all the questions which your teacher is making you solve in the class. Let it take the time. In the first 6 months, you need to give maximum time to physics. You need to ensure that you strengthen this subject. So take your notes. First, lecture. Second, notes. And notes should include all the questions plus formulae. All formulae need to be included. Let's say in magnetic physics, you read that magnetic field due to a current carrying loop is mu naught I upon 2r. Okay? And mu naught I upon 2r, you are solving a question based on that. First, you wrote the formula. After that, you solved the question. And by the way, this was asked in Neet 2024, whose answer was 4.4 milli Tesla. This was a question, by the way, I told you. Mu naught I upon 4r. And after that, a question will be made. So, note that down. This should be the way. Let's say in lenses, you've been taught a problem, or let's say in resistors, parallel combination, that 1 upon R equivalent is 1 upon R1 plus 1 upon R2, so on like this. Note down the formulae, then do this. Terminal voltage, that is equals to E minus I into the internal resistance. All of this you should be aware of. Third is going to be practice. Now this practice can be done through various sources. DPPs, modules, PYQs, practice sheets. If your coaching provides any of those, then it's good. Or else PYQ practice should be done. Modules, you need to solve your coaching modules. Or if you don't have, you can order DC Pandey. DC Pandey is a good book. So DC Pandey can be ordered. Every question of NEET 2024 was present in DC Pandey. So it's a very good book. By chance you don't want coaching modules, go for this. Otherwise, coaching modules, DPPs, practice sheets are sufficient. You just need to revise everything from time to time. This practice thing. Now this practice thing, what to do if I'm not able to solve the numerical. So listen carefully. Look at the solution and understand the approach. Read the language properly. Focus on the units. What am I trying to say? Read the question properly, word by word. What is being asked, you should be clear with. How to do it, that is very important. Like this year, I don't remember that question. I think power was asked, and power is equals to force times velocity. Force times velocity. So I think displacement's equation was given 2t minus 1. And you know velocity is dx by dt. So dx by dt would give me 2. I think force was given 5 Newton. So 5 into 2, 10 watts, something like this was there. I don't remember exactly, but power related question was there, which was really easy. So such formula based questions are there, which involve two concepts, which is motion in a straight line as well as work per energy, but easy questions. Questions will be easy in the exam hall for physics, but the thing is presence of mind and alertness. If I'm not alert, I'm behind. I might not be able to solve that question on that particular occasion. Okay. Fourth, for conceptual questions, what you need to do is NCRT. After a chapter finishes, please do NCRT 1. Sometimes statements of NCRT are as it is given, so we can't take the risk. And right now you're just starting. It's not like 2-3 months are left. So you can cover NCRT slowly. At least highlight the summary points and points to ponder related things and the other important theory points which you think are very important. So that can be done. This is your exact sequence which you need to do. Okay. I can show you some of my notes, like when I was in class 12th. These are my modern physics notes. If you can see, they're very comprehensive. Let's say, you can probably see. Photoelectric effect I've shown. I'll share my notes if you want. Though in modern physics, I think I did really well. You can see all the questions are included over here. Questions. After the concept is taught, see, this is very comprehensive. Frequency, then this is intensity. Frequency is related to kinetic energy, which is related to stopping potential. Intensity, number of photons, photocurrent. Then I've written photoelectric effect is explained by the particle nature, why. After that, there's a question, a formula based question for my clarity. So this is how you need to do. I told you I'm attending the lecture. I'm making the notes. This has to be done for all the 28 chapters of your NEET syllabus. Then only you can expect something in return. I did everything, still could not perform the best in my NEET physics portion. Biochemistry, I excelled. Physics, because of lack of practice somewhere or the other, less time given to the subject, which should be ignored. Notes, practice DPPs, modules, PYQ, practice sheets, and for conceptual questions, NCRT. And in this way, you need to jot down all the questions in the notes so that you can refer to them later. I have noted down, see, question number 15. This is the 15th question of dual nature chapter. You can see nicely I've written the solution so that later on I won't face the problem. Because sometimes what happens, we do it at that point of time, we understand the concept, but after 2 months we might forget. So all those formula based direct questions should be present in our notes so that we don't have to run after hundreds of books. Fifth point, which is very important, it's a very big mistake. Multiple books, teachers, notes. Please don't do this. Use a single resource, study from a single teacher, and always make your own notes, make your own short notes, and formula cheat sheets. Formula sheets after finishing every chapter. Let's say I have finished current electricity recently. Okay. For that instance, I finished current electricity. It's a very lengthy chapter and a very important chapter from Neet's perspective. So what will I be doing? I will be making it short notes after solving the PYQs. So previous year questions will be kind of a checkpoint for you, whether you've understood everything or not, how much you're able to apply your knowledge to. Let's discuss about the most important chapters for NEET 2025 physics. Number one, current electricity, a very important chapter from class 12 physics, from where 3 to 4 questions are asked every year in NEET and sometimes even 5, like NEET 2023. So this has to be strong at any cost. Second, ray optics, a very important chapter, 3 to 4 questions asked, and also it's the base for your wave optics chapter, so please do it thoroughly. Semiconductors and electronics, 3 to 4 questions in NEET, very important again, please do not ignore it. Gravitation, though just 2 questions are asked from gravitation chapter, but it becomes really important as it's the base for electrostatics. There are so many things in gravitation which are as it is in electrostatics. Just in gravitation you have mass, in electrostatics you have charge. For example, the Newton's law of gravitation and Coulomb's law of electrostatics, it's the same. Overall it's the same. It depends on the inverse square from the distance, k q1 q2 upon r square, that is your Coulomb's law. G m1 m2 upon r square, that is your Newton's law of gravitation. So gravitation is very important for electrostatics, especially for your gravitational potential, electrostatic potential, gravitation potential energy, electrostatic potential energy, very similar topics. Okay. Kinematics, NLM, 3 questions are asked, but they are so important that I can't tell you because they'll make the base for your entire physics. Kinematics, NLM concepts will be used throughout, so you cannot afford to ignore them. Dual nature and atoms, modern physics, that consists of 3 questions, very important again, and they are easy. I've included in this because a lot of students find physics completely tough, but guys, we cannot ignore that physics has easy questions, all easy chapters also. So dual nature and atoms are 2 of the easiest chapters which you can cover very nicely in your coaching and score maximum in these chapters at least. Now for droppers, one thing I'd like to tell you, try finishing a syllabus by December, January. And how to revise physics? Revision of physics is through questions. So whichever questions you're getting wrong in your module, you need to circle them and try to attempt them after 3-4 days, whether you're able to remember or not. So do this will actually work. It's a very comprehensive plan. Okay. And in the tests, whichever questions you are getting wrong, make an error notebook. So error copy is very important to be made. Error copy in which you are including your mistakes. And I'll make a video on mistakes separately. about the test analysis. If you want a video on test analysis, please let me know in the comment section. Okay, guys? So thank you so much for watching this video. Bye bye.